Hello, I'm Ben. Welcome to the channel. So a few months ago, I'm always looking for something to teach me a few things. I came across a book called The World's Greatest Letters. And in this book, it has letters written by people throughout history, going all the way back to antiquity, where you talk about, Plato and Aristotle and folks back then, Napoleon, Benjamin Franklin. But the one today that I'm going to read is from Thomas Jefferson. So Thomas Jefferson was a president of the United States, and he was a pretty influential figure. He was the one that penned the Declaration of Independence. And before doing so, in 1776, he actually wrote a letter to a friend of his at the time, William Fleming. And this letter he wrote the day before he went to travel across the country to pen the Declaration of Independence. So I'm going to get into this letter and kind of see what he was thinking before that historic day. And I just think it's interesting how they talked back then around the correspondence and how things came across. And so this is what Jefferson wrote. He said, "Dear Fleming, yours of the 22nd of June came to hand this morning and gratified me much, as this was your former contain interesting intelligence." So basically, the letter that he received was sent by his friend on June 22nd of that year, 1776. And this was Philadelphia in July 1st, 1776. "Our affairs in Canada go still retrograde, but I hope they are now nearly at their worst. The fatal source of these misfortunes have been what of hard money, which purchase provisions, the ravages of smallpox, of which one half of our army is still down, an unlucky choice of some officers. By our last letters, General Sullivan was retired as far as Isle de Nord with his dispirited army, Burgundy pursuing him with a double or treble his numbers." Treble instead of triple, Treble. "It gives much concern that he had determined to make a stand, and then, as it exposes to great danger of losing him and his army, it was the universal sense of his officers that he ought to retire. General Schuyler has sent him position orders to retire to the Crown Point, but whether he will reach him in time enough to withdraw him from danger is questionable. Here it seems to be opinion of all the general officers that the effectual stand may be made, and the enemy may not be prevented access into New York. But preserving the superiority on the lakes, we may renew our attacks on them to advantage as soon as our army is recovered from the smallpox and recruited." So basically, he's talking about Thomas Paine, and he's talking about the efforts they're making during the war, right? And the enemy he's talking about is England. "But recruits, though long ordered, are very difficult to be procured on account of the dreadful disorder. The conspiracy at New York has not yet thoroughly developed, nor has anything transpired, the whole being kept secret till the whole is got through. One fact is known of necessity, that one of General's life guards, being thoroughly convicted, was to be shot last Saturday. General Howe, with some ships, we know not how many, is arrived at the Hook and is said to be landed some horse on the Jersey shore. The famous Major Rogers is in custody of a violent suspicion of being concerned in the conspiracy. I am glad to hear that the Highlanders carried into Virginia. It does not appear that certainly how many of these people we have, but I imagine at least 600 or 800. He's from Virginia, so he's talking about his own state's military at this point. Great efforts should be made to keep the spirits of the people the succeeding 3 months, which the universal opinion will be only the ones in which our trial can be severe. I wish you had depended on yourself rather than orders for giving me account of the late nomination of delegates. I have no other state of it but the number of votes for each person. The omission of Harrison and Braxton and my being next to the lag give me some alarm. It is a painful situation to be 300 miles from one's country and thereby open to secret assassination without possibility of self-defense. I am willing and hope nothing of this kind has been done in my case, and yet I cannot be easy. If any doubt has arisen to me, my country will be my political creed in the form of a declaration, which I will lightly direct and draw. This will give decisive proof to my own sentiment concurred with the vote they instructed us to give. Had the post been to go a day later, we might have been at liberty to communicate this whole matter. July 2nd, I would have kept an open letter till the morning, but nothing more anew. Adieu. Thomas Jefferson. So there was a lot going on in this, but I think what's cool and what stands out to me in this letter is what he's talking about where he could have been assassinated. So I don't think people understand when the Federalist Papers were written, when they went through all this, there were as many people that didn't want the Constitution as wanted it, right? And the folks that all signed the Constitution, they were pretty much signing their death warrant. For a while there, their lives were in danger from assassination and things of that nature. So you think the guy who became the next president of the United States, who penned the fantastic, U.S. Constitution, which now our modern government bastardizes every time they get a chance, and they have no idea how important that document is. So here's the thing about law in this country. The Constitution is the basis of law for America. The Bill of Rights that's in it and the constitutional law is what gives us our protections of what is deemed to be our God-given rights. So when people talk about the amendments, those are the God-given rights that the Constitution is set there to protect. The Constitution does not limit the powers of the people, but it's there to limit the powers of the government. The one mistake I think they made in penning the Constitution was they didn't put term limits on Congress and the Senate and those animals, right? Those people stay in and they don't serve with any nobility or anything else. It's just they keep authority and try to make themselves their own noble class. And speaking of which, a few years ago, they decided to pay themselves, for life. So if you serve one term in Congress, you get paid 170, 180 grand a year for life, as if that's not just plain ridiculous. So what's great is to look back at the historical documents and remember what they were going through. And at the time, they were being taxed, not to the level that we're being taxed today. But at the time they were being taxed, it was much more difficult to make money back then. Money was smaller than it is now, right? And they were being taxed too far. And they felt like it was taxation without representation, which was the battle cry that generated the interest in separating from the king and his government. So when you fast forward a couple hundred years and you look at what we have now from 1776 all the way to now in 2024, the villains that we have now are just as real as what they were back then. And I'm no fan of Washington or what they do. I think that they've definitely far removed themselves from Thomas Jefferson and what he's saying there. But I like to highlight the point that he wasn't safe anywhere he went. And as he said, he was leagues from his home and his concern was he had no way to defend himself, even though he had 600 to 800 men at home ready to fight this war in his name and in his stead. So pretty great stuff. I like the fact that I have this book. I'll probably do a few more videos on letters. There's letters in here from Abraham Lincoln, Beethoven, Michelangelo, Alexander the Great, Christopher Columbus, George Washington, and many, many more. So I liked that this was compiled. In here, it also has letters from other folks more historical, Leonardo da Vinci, Henry VIII, and even Nero's mom. So yeah, I'll get some more of these put into videos because I think it's worth seeing, and hopefully my voice is good enough in reading them to you. And you can get what the author was feeling at the time. Hopefully you like content like this. If you do, please like and subscribe. Please share. I'm Ben. Be good.